Alright, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today's moto vlog is going to be, it's going to be on some highway tips for the XT250. I did some highway tips for the Yamaha R3 and it was a pretty popular video, probably because it was just an R3 video. But let's go ahead and talk about the XT250. Okay, so where am I headed? I'm headed to San Diego. It is around noon right now, so I shouldn't catch too much traffic heading down, and I shouldn't catch too much traffic heading up. The XT250 is a very slow bike. I mean, I'm a super lightweight guy. I weigh about 120 pounds. So really it's just the bike kind of powering itself, you know, moving on the highway. But my max miles per hour, my top speed on this bike is probably around 80 on completely flat ground, totally wrapped out. I can get around 80 miles per hour, but this is typically where I like to ride. This is where my bike is just kind of happy, is at like the 70-75 mile per hour range. And that's assuming there's no crosswind or tailwind or headwind or anything like that. If there's a headwind, man, this bike is terrible, for two different reasons. One, there's no wind protection, so all that wind is just hitting you straight in the face and straight in the chest. And if you're like me, and you have a dual sport helmet or an adventure touring style helmet, you're probably going to have a sun peak on there. And it's just going to catch the wind almost instantly. So it's bad enough as it is without the wind protection, but it makes it even worse when there's a headwind. So the first time I was riding from Southern California to Monterey to like the San Francisco area, I had a really bad headwind for about 200 miles. And I just could not get the bike to go past 60 miles per hour. So people were passing me left and right, they were honking, and like I would try to like hang out in the slipstream of like semi trucks, and even then they were still going too fast and I'd get lost, you know, like, and it was just miserable. But this bike, I mean, as long as you're doing, as long as you know what it's capable of, like the 70 to 80 range, depending on your weight and the weather conditions and the route that you're taking, it's a fantastic bike. I mean, it's great. It just kind of putters along, and I mean, that's why I don't hesitate to bring it on long trips, like to go to San Francisco or to go to San Diego or LA, just because, like, hey, I know it's a good bike, I'm comfortable on it. It's got a good seating position, but the thing is, it's just slow. I mean, 70 to 75, perfect range. You know, just stick in the right lane if you need to. Go in the middle lane if you can, if you need a pass. But it's a slow bike. And for California highways, if you haven't gotten the clue, that's where I am. I'm in California. Typically everybody's going around 80 miles an hour. Everybody's going 10 or 15 miles above the speed limit. So having to keep up on this little bike is kind of tricky. Like this I'm fine because the middle lane's going 75, but you can tell that box truck, the white box truck over there, they're going about 70 miles per hour as well, when really they're supposed to be going about 55. So he's actually going to head into the middle lane to make room for this traffic coming in. But the XT, in comparison to other like highway bikes, including like even just the R3 is a way better highway bike than this, just because it's geared for it. This bike only has 5 gears, and like it's meant for fire roads and single track and just going outdoors and stuff. It's not really made for out of the city, out of the rural area stuff. It's not made for large highway use or anything like that. And you can tell, like, it's a dual sport, it's a dirt bike. One of the great things I love about this bike are the mirrors. The stock mirrors are like, you can see everything. It's totally obvious where everything's at, where everyone is, and it's just such a comfortable bike to sit on. that, you know, I can easily head check or torso check or do anything that I need to make sure that I'm not going to get into a hairy situation. I wish this bike had a 6th gear like the WR250, but it doesn't. So it only has 5 gears. But I was thinking about, back to the mirrors, I was thinking about changing the mirrors back when I first got this bike to something a little bit more discreet. But, I mean, these things just work, you know? If they work, why change them? I mean, they're ugly, but they work. So, back to California traffic. I mean, riding on the highway, it's not bad. We're doing it right now. We're on knobby tires. It's completely fine. I was on knobby tires the other day. In the rain, and it did fine on the highway. I don't recommend you do that if you're a novice rider, but I'm just saying, like, I did. And I'm still alive. I'm still going. Where this bike really excels at is like the sub 50 mile per hour range, because that's where you're in the gearing and you're in the rev range, where as soon as you give throttle input, you're gonna get throttle output. You know, you're gonna get a change in speed, which is great, because as a commuting bike, as my primary method of commuting this bike, like, that's what I'm typically stuck in. I'm stuck in the sub 50 mile per hour mark. I'm stuck in traffic in between red lights, and I can just lane split. And lane splitting on this bike is great because it's so thin and it sits pretty high up. I mean, I'm pretty much eye level with all the SUVs that I'm on the highway sharing with, and visibility is pretty good. And I think I did a lane splitting tips and tricks video on the XT. You know, you can get out of the seat if you need to and get up on the pegs to increase your visibility. But really what I'm doing right now is I'm full throttle. We're about to break 80 miles per hour indicated, just to pass a couple of these people. But when you get into like the 80-85 mile per hour range, if you are able to get there, the bike does get a little squirrely. It does feel kind of bad pushing it into this limit. But I mean, if you gotta get places, you gotta get places. So it does kind of suck having to ring it out like this, but I know there's gonna be a bunch of crazy people trying to change lanes over here, so I'm just trying to beat it. But yeah, I mean, the XT250 it's a pretty good highway bike. There are plenty of better bikes to do it with, but if you only have to do it occasionally, then it's fine. Like, it's a great bike. I wouldn't recommend breaking in your bike, like buying a bike 200 miles away and then having to ride it the 200 miles home on the highway, because you're gonna break it in at that rev range of like whatever this is. There's no tachometer, so I can't tell you, but like, I ride this bike on the highway and I feel pretty comfortable on it. But I know there's a lot of people who wouldn't feel comfortable on this bike on the highway. They would say, oh, it's too underpowered, you don't have the passing power. And those people really don't understand what the XT250 is supposed to do. It's not supposed to be a highway bike. But can it be a highway bike? I would say yes, like as a last resort. And as long as you're super safe when you do it. Because being in the right lane as a motorcyclist is somewhere you don't want to be, just because people are going to be changing lanes into you. They're going to be entering the highway and they might not see you. And they might not also see you if you're hanging around next to the semi-trucks, just because on a motorcycle you're about a fifth of the size of a car in terms of the amount of space that you take up. But if there's a lot of traffic and you understand, you know, what speed you need to be at to be safe on the XT, like, it's a totally fine bike. Like, I wouldn't hesitate doing this trip to San Diego if I didn't think this bike was up to it. And I know this bike is up to it because I've done it before. I know how this bike performs, and it's pretty okay. I mean, I'd much rather be on the R3, protected from the wind. Having a 6th gear, having a tachometer. But you know, this is good enough. And really, I guess that's where I'll kind of cut it. Like, is the XT250 a highway bike? It's good enough. And like, honestly, I wish I could ride something else. But hey, if this is all I have to ride and it's a beautiful day out, I'm gonna ride it. So you can take that with a grain of salt. But if you're in the market to buy an XT250, don't expect it to be this highway monster. You know, you should expect to be in the right 2 lanes. And if you're in California, you know, you could split lanes 1 and 2 depending on traffic. But, you know, for most people, riding the XT250 in traffic would not be a pleasurable experience. So that's why I'm saying it's an alright bike. It's just alright. But anyways, guys, if you have any questions about the XT250 and riding on the highway, just go ahead and feel free to drop it in the comment box. I'll be sure to respond to it. I usually do respond to all the comments. Feel free to give me a like if you like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And like, the XT250 is a great bike. I love it, and I post videos of it because I love it. And I post it not just for myself, but because like, I wish I had a resource like this when I was about to buy my XT. And guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day, and peace out.